Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Dennis. So if you watched the last video, well, if you didn't, go back and watch it. But if you watched the last one, I mentioned I'm going to show you what prepping a motherboard is and all the steps I take to get it ready before I put it into a case and make sure it's ready to go. So that's what this video is going to be. We're going to install CPU, memory, the whole works, and show you how I get everything ready, including the M.2 drive. So here we go. Okay, so right now I've got it on my test bench. Everything is all on here. We're going to install our CPU. I'm going to put a memory in. We may hook up power. Well, we will hook up power. Connect everything and just see how everything functions after that. We're going to take this off, put our M.2 in there, and yeah, whatever else I can come up with along the way. This is all part of getting your motherboard ready before you put it in a system. Now, you can do this after you've got it in a system. I like to do it beforehand because then it just makes things that much easier. So I'm going to start with the memory. Okay, so I'm going to use a 1 terabyte Sabrent M.2 drive, and I've got 4 sticks of value memory, DDR4. It's a total of 32 gigabyte, so we're going to have lots of memory on here. I'm going to use the 5600X CPU with, I might use a different cooler instead of the stock cooler. And so let's get on with the memory first. So when you're putting your memory in, the first thing you want to do is line up this little notch with the notch that's on your motherboard here. So that's what we're going to do. You have a little slots on the side, and normally you'd go with slot 2 and 4. So slot 2 would be here, and you just push it down until you hear it click in place. And same on this side, there. And then you put the second one in, same way. Slot 4. Same thing, push down, hear it click. And then we're going to put our other 2 in as well and carry on. Now, the thing to remember, if for some reason that feels like it's not going in right, check and see if something's falling into the slot. Because you never know. It could. It's happened. Hardest thing is when you haven't got enough light, sometimes it's just making sure you can see what you're doing. And the other thing is, if you have a problem when you boot up and you think it's possibly memory, check to make sure they're all fully inserted. Because if they're not inserted properly, that will cause you problems. That's it. Memory's installed. Now, our M.2 is going to go in here. We'll do that next. So something else to do is keep grounding yourself. Now, I use the metal frame of my bench table to keep grounding myself so I'm not having static electricity. Okay, so I do that, and then I'm going to remove this. So there's just 2 screws and one on this end. Okay, now I should be able to lift that up. Now, when you look at the underneath, you're going to see that little strip. Don't forget to take this off. It'll peel off in the corners usually. You can see it kind of coming off there now. Make sure that's off after you put your M.2 in. That will help to keep it cool. So something you can run across every now and then is misplacing your little M.2 standoff. Because this one's fastened on the motherboard. You need to have one to go in this little slot. Because if you don't, it's not going to set right. So you just put it in there. Just finger tighten. And you're going to put your M.2. You look at that little slot. There's a little slot here. Goes in here. It'll feed in. Okay, you just kind of wiggle it. Line that up. And then put your little screw in. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Very, very simple. Except when you're filming. And it's really, really hard. Don't ask me why, it just is. Alright, so we just put our little screw in there, holds it in place. That's our hard drive. So we have memory, hard drive, CPU, and CPU cooler is next. We obviously will need a graphics card, but like I mentioned, don't forget to take this and now peel this off. Okay, so take this a little bit of plastic, take it off. So when you put this back on, that's all going to line up, and you'll fasten it back where it needs to go. And then we're just going to tighten that back down with a screw again. Okay, that one's done. We'll do the same thing on this one. That's it. You don't have to over tighten. Once you're to a certain point, it's not going to go any further anyway. So our M.2 is installed for our hard drive. We got a memory. Okay, so our next step is to install our CPU. So we have the AMD Ryzen 5 5600X. When you look at it now, they have changed it a little bit. So it's going to be hard for you to see it, but let me see if I can get that in here. There's a little triangle down in this corner. If I can get that to focus. When I get it out of there, you can see it there now. So that little triangle, okay, line that up with here on the bottom left. Okay, so your arm is here, go across from it, it's going to be right there. You will see an indicator on the motherboard itself of how it's going to go. And like I say, I've done all the installs for this. So I'm just going to go ahead, put it in. So it's been a little while. So this is the Gammaxx, Deepcool Gammaxx 400. And I never noticed that I've never done, I don't think, an AM4 install. So the cool part is this little bracket, okay, it just goes around it. It's got 8 heat pipes, and you're going to need to remove this, put thermal paste on. There's just 4 little screws. These are going to go down, fasten onto your brackets, which are on your motherboard, and that's going to be all there is to it. So they've actually putting that little bracket in there. I don't believe I've seen that in the past. So that's going to make this much, much easier than what I've done in the past. Because before they had the Intel, so you used basically kind of the same as the stock cooler. And I used one of these before. So I don't know if I actually did one of these for an AM4 motherboard. So that's new. So I will film this as much as I can. All I did was put that bracket on with the 4 screws. The fan's already on it, so it's pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, lots of heat pipes. It's got your fan, and of course, the nice thing is it's got a 4-pin for your fan, so PWM. And that bracket, it's going to make it really simple, actually. So I like that they've done that. They've tried to make it as easy and simple for you to install as it is possible. So I'm going to put the CPU in. I'll put that on, show you how really easy that's going to be. And that will probably pretty much finish our first steps. That should be good to go. But once I put that in there, though, of course, we'll boot up to the BIOS, show you that it's recognizing the M.2, and we'll go from there. Okay, so first we're going to put our CPU in. So line it up with the letters kind of like that, as you can see them. Make sure. Okay, so line it up. First thing you have to do is lift up your little arm. Your arrow is down here. So is it on your motherboard. If you put it in there right, it'll just drop down, which you just did there. You can just kind of wiggle it every little bit, and then you'll know it's in place. Then bring the arm back down, just underneath this little tab. Okay. That's it. CPU is installed. Simple. Now, the tricky part, of course, is our CPU cooler. Brand new, never did this before. So this is a Gammaxx 400 silent 120 millimeter PWM fan with blue LED light. Now, here's the thing. If you don't want the blue LED, you can always switch that later on. Put a different RGB cooler fan on it, 120 millimeter, and you can change it up. I'm going to use what I got for now, simply because I don't have another one available. But I will probably switch it up because, I mean, it's not going to go with my build otherwise. Unless I decide to go with blue. So, anyhow, I'm going to show you how to install this. So, the fan, like I say, is already on there. So, you're going to need thermal paste. You've got the little clips. Okay, so you got a clip here. And you got one on the other side. When you put it on, you want to put it on so that it's facing, well, why don't I just show you. I'm going to zoom out here a little bit. So don't forget you need to take that little tab off the bottom of the CPU cooler. But first you have to put down a little bit of thermal paste. So I have some Noctua NTH1 thermal paste. Hopefully I got some left in here as I haven't used it for a while. There should be plenty, just a little bit, just a little blob. And then I'm going to put the cooler on. Now, here's the thing. When you put this on, see that little, see where it's got 3 little arrows? Put that on the right-hand side, so this side, nearest to your M.2. But I took the fan off, because the way they show the fan is different than what I expected. So, the little latch here, it's going to go on the left-hand side. We're going to hook it over. And it's meant to be bent a little bit, so it is going to flex. You're going to have to bring that down below this tab here. So first time doing it on this, so let's hope that works all right. So let's put that here and push down. It is meant to, oh, perfect. That was easier than I thought. Okay, so that's on. And I'm going to figure out what side's fan's going to go on here. I'm thinking this side. I don't know why they have the 4 little... Let me just show that to you here. They have these 4 little anti-vibration things, I believe, but they have it on this side, so if you want to put a second fan, although I'm not 100% sure what those are for. Doesn't really change things too much, but just be aware. Fan was on this side, but it's pulling the air. I would prefer it to be on the other side, pushing the air out. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So putting that on is pretty straightforward, pretty simple. It's actually... maybe the easiest install of a CPU cooler I've ever done. Very nice, actually. You know, my only concern is pushing on this, how easy this might be. I mean, I can push on it a little bit. It doesn't seem to come up. So, yeah, I think we're good. I'm pushing pretty good now. So, it's on there really well. I'm going to put my fan on and plug it in. I'll be on there afterward. So, anyhow. So, clip the fan in here. I'm just going to slide it around here. And same thing on this side. Get my mitts out of the way. So on this side, you can see, no, you can't see actually. So on this side, you can see there's that little clip. Okay, it tucks in. And now it's installed. It's going to exhaust out the back. Now, if you have a another fan, you can put it down there. They do give you the clips for it. But now it's just a matter of plugging it in. So we have our little 4-pin, right? See a little tab. Line that up with your the header on your motherboard. So let me show you that. Okay, just to clarify, I made a mistake. I was looking at the wrong header for the CPU. CPU fan header is actually right here. Okay, just to clarify that. It's actually it's gray on this motherboard. So the final part, plugging in our 8-pin for power. So plug in our 8-pin for power, our 24-pin here for power, plug in our power supply, and we obviously need one more thing. Now, if you had a integrated graphics on your CPU, then you wouldn't need to worry about that. We don't, so we're going to need a graphics card. So I'm going to put the graphics card on, and again, I'll show that to you because, again, prepping the motherboard. Now, because obviously I want to show everything, we have an older graphics card here, so I'm going to install that. This is our slot right here. Now, it's PCIe 4.0. Obviously, my graphics card is not, but I need it, so that's all I got. And I refuse to pay the prices of what they've got out there today. And as long as I have a graphics card, I will make sure that goes in there, fit it into the slot. I'm going to need power in here, so I'm going to have to hook up an 8-pin and a 6-pin for power. We're almost there, folks. Okay, so final steps. Power is here. I've got power to the power supply. I've hooked up my HDMI cable for my graphics card, hooked up a keyboard and mouse, and all that's left is to power it on. Now, I got this little device that I found in one of my motherboard boxes. I think they actually gave it to me by mistake, actually, but their mistake is my benefit. Maybe it's intentional, I don't know. So we're just going to turn it on and see if we get a boot. Oh, I'm going to turn on my power supply first. Always helpful. Okay, once again. Okay, things are coming on. And let's see what we get in the screen here. Now be patient, sometimes it takes a little bit. New processor, sometimes it'll even power up, power back down. There we go, we have a boot screen. That'll take us into our BIOS, detecting our mouse, our hub, our M.2, and it says new CPU installed, please enter the setup. So we go F1 to run the setup. And we go in here and we put everything together. And yeah, so that's what we're going to do. You can see your temperatures, if you can see that. I don't know if you can. Let me see if I can zoom that in here for you. Okay, so you can see on the top right over here, our temperature for the CPU is running at 31 degrees on just idle. So overall, pretty happy with this. So the next time you see this, it'll be me putting it into a computer case and basically finishing the install, which is pretty much all done now, actually. So maybe you won't see it. Maybe I'll just show you what it looks like all together. So anyhow, if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, so prepping the motherboard turned into everything you need to do to get your system ready. Motherboard ready, everything. You can do a lot of this when it's in the case, but I wanted to show you everything so you can see it. And of course, it turned out into a Gammaxx 400 silent 120 millimeter fan that has a blue LED on it, which I will switch out later just to better go with the actual build of what I'm doing. And the install of that. So I hope that helped you out if you've got that CPU cooler or you're thinking about it. And with 31 degrees, actually I'm looking at it, it's 33 degrees right now. So warming up a little bit, just on idle. When I test it all out, probably it'll be okay because I've used it in the past and it stays really respectable. Much better CPU cooler than I think a lot of people realize. And it's not extravagantly priced. It's very reasonable. So just keep that in mind. So I hope you like it. I hope you learned something from it. You don't have to go all out. As long as you got a good CPU, you got the memory, it doesn't have to be the fastest in the world. As long as it'll do the job what you want it to do. So I got 32 gig of memory in here. I got an older graphics card, unfortunately. It's a GTX 770. I'll replace it before I will pass it on to somebody. If I can. It'll obviously cost me a few dollars, but prices are coming down, so that's a good thing. So anyway, if you like the video, hit that like. If you don't, you know what to do. Think about leaving a comment instead. Tell me what you wanted to see or what you'd like to see in the future. If you're new here, think about subscribing. Hit that bell for notifications as videos come up. And as always, I really appreciate you watching. And if you want to support the channel, hit that join button. And if you're still here, thank you. Not everybody makes it this far. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic day.